Everyone remembers the first Harry Potter story as whimsical magic, candles, frogs, innocence. But underneath the charm was a trial. The stone didn't search for the powerful, it searched for the worthy. Every moment asked one question: will you chase power or remain human? Let's have a look at the hidden truths the first book never said out loud. The stone's true purpose wasn't immortality. It was choosing who deserves it. Everyone calls it the Philosopher's Stone, but that name is a distraction. It was never about gold. It was never about forever. It was about truth. The stone wasn't forged to cheat nature. It was forged to reveal nature. Flamel didn't conquer death. He learned to live beside it without fear. That's why he could destroy the stone without trembling. He had already mastered the lesson. Mortality is not a curse, it is context. Voldemort saw death as an enemy to crush. Harry saw death as a price worth paying for love, friends, meaning. So the stone didn't measure strength. It measured peace with impermanence. Anyone who clung to life could never claim eternal life. Anyone who worshipped power could never hold true power. Anyone who fought death could never rise above it. Harry didn't defeat Voldemort by seizing the stone. He defeated him by proving he didn't need it. The stone separated worlds, those who seek immortality out of terror, those who live courageously because they accept endings. That was the secret Flamel encoded into alchemy, a final equation where the value of a soul outweighs the value of eternity. The stone didn't choose the living. It chose the ones who deserved to stop running from death, and that is why Voldemort could never touch it, because immortality cannot belong to those who fear dying more than they value living. The stone's purpose wasn't to make life endless. It was to prove whose life had already found meaning. Quirrell didn't fear Voldemort. He worshipped his philosophy. Quirrell didn't serve Voldemort because he was weak. He served him because he admired him. Fear didn't break Quirrell. Curiosity did. The academic who chased forbidden truth and mistook cruelty for brilliance. He believed Voldemort wasn't a tyrant but a teacher, a man who had transcended limitation. Quirrell didn't lose himself by accident. He offered himself. He didn't tremble because he was afraid. He trembled because the human inside him was losing the argument. He valued power over people, ambition over empathy, intelligence over humanity, and so he became the first lesson Hogwarts gave Harry. Evil doesn't always roar. Sometimes it studies, questions, and convinces itself it's enlightened. The Philosopher's Stone was never in danger. Harry was the real test. The stone was never the thing at stake. Harry's soul was. People feared Voldemort taking the stone, but the real danger wasn't losing immortality. It was losing innocence, intention, and moral clarity in the process. Everyone assumed Hogwarts built a vault for a treasure. Instead, it built a crucible for a child. Fluffy wasn't a blockade. It was a threshold. Are you willing to risk harm for someone else? The devil's snare wasn't a trap. It tested surrender, trust in others, not panic or pride. The flying keys didn't measure spellwork. They measured patience and restraint, the ability to earn, not seize. The chessboard didn't demand brilliance. It demanded sacrifice, the acceptance that heroism costs something personal. The potions puzzle wasn't about potions. It honored reason over recklessness, wisdom over bravado. Step by step, Hogwarts wasn't protecting the stone from Voldemort. It was protecting Harry from becoming the kind of wizard who would want it. By the time he reached the Mirror of Erased, the question wasn't, can you take the stone? It was, can you face temptation and still choose goodness? Harry didn't see power, or victory, or eternal life. He saw a family, love, not control. What he longed for was human, not legendary. And because he didn't try to force the fantasy into reality, because he didn't reach for power when pain offered him a reason, the stone offered itself instead. Dumbledore didn't gamble a magical artifact on an 11-year-old. He proved that destiny alone doesn't make a hero. Character does. The stone wasn't protected by enchantments. It was protected by the nature of those who sought it. The Mirror of Erased wasn't temptation. It was surveillance. The mirror didn't test Harry's desires. It tested whether desire controlled him. Most wizards fail that test long before they touch a wand. They see what they lack and mistake yearning for purpose. But magic never feared ambition. It feared obsession. The mirror wasn't placed in a corridor to hide a secret. It was placed in a corridor to reveal one. Because true danger isn't wanting something. It's wanting it so much you'd bleed the world to get it. For Voldemort, desire became doctrine. For Harry, desire remained a memory, painful, tender, human. The mirror didn't show Harry his weakness. It showed that he could hurt and not hunger. It asked, do you ache or do you crave? Most people, when faced with what they've lost, reach out to take, to fix, to rewrite fate. Harry reached out only in emotion, not ambition. He touched the glass like it was a gravestone, not a promise. Dumbledore wasn't checking what Harry wanted. He was confirming what Harry would refuse: power, revenge, control. The three poisons Voldemort drank willingly. Harry stood before ultimate temptation. Not riches, not fame, but love returned, and still did not trade his reality for illusion. That is why the mirror was the final gatekeeper, not to guard the stone, but to guard the boy destined to face death and not worship life. Anyone can resist greed. Very few can resist hope. The mirror proved something more valuable than purity. Harry did not chase the past. He accepted the present. And by doing so, he showed he was worthy of the future. The mirror didn't check if Harry desired good. It confirmed he would not use longing as justification for darkness. And in a world where wizards could bend reality, the bravest magic was simply this: he looked into paradise and chose to walk away. Draco didn't hate Harry. He feared losing his inheritance of power. Draco didn't hate Harry, he hated what Harry meant. Harry wasn't just a rival, he was a prophecy Draco never asked for. Proof that the world might be shifting away from the Malfoy dynasty and towards something terrifyingly merit-based. Draco grew up in a mansion built on old rules: blood decides power, pedigree decides worth, legacy decides destiny. Then came a boy with no ancestry, no training, no privilege, and the world bowed to him anyway. That wasn't an insult, it was the apocalypse. Draco didn't sneer because he felt superior. He sneered because, for the first time in his life, superiority felt optional. Harry didn't take Draco's place. He proved Draco's place could be taken. Every time Harry won loyalty without buying it, respect without demanding it, friendship without bribing it, Draco lost a pillar holding up his worldview. Draco didn't bully Harry out of cruelty, he bullied him out of self-defense. If magic could choose a boy raised like a servant, what did that say about a boy groomed like a prince? If worth could come from character instead of heritage, Draco's identity wasn't legacy, it was a liability. Harry wasn't a threat to Draco's pride, he was a threat to Draco's system of survival, a system taught by a father who knew the world would evolve and feared his bloodline wouldn't. Hatred was easier than admitting terror, cruelty was safer than confronting inadequacy. Draco didn't want to crush Harry, he wanted to silence the future Harry represented. A world where legacy had to share a seat with merit, where birthright wasn't enough. A world where power would not bow to old names, only to new courage. That was Draco's real nightmare. Not Harry Potter the boy, Harry Potter the proof. Quirrell was the first man who tried to become Voldemort. Every student at Hogwarts saw Quirrell as fragile, stuttering, nervous, a professor trembling in his own robes. But that wasn't who he truly was. That was who he pretended to be. Quirrell didn't fall to Voldemort because he was weak. He fell because he was ambitious enough to seek him. He didn't get corrupted by proximity to darkness. He pursued the darkness hoping it would bow to him. Quirrell wanted power, not service. He wanted to study the Dark Lord, rise above him, and take his place in history. He underestimated the oldest rule of evil. No one bargains with darkness without becoming a vessel for it. When Voldemort took his face, literally carved himself into Quirrell's skull, it wasn't possession. It was a punishment. Quirrell didn't become a servant. He became a shell, not a follower, but evidence that ambition without soul turns men into masks. His stutter wasn't fear, it was suppression. A human voice suffocating under parasitic will. He didn't stand behind Voldemort, he wore him, and when Harry touched him, Quirrell didn't turn to ash because good destroyed evil. He crumbled because evil devours those who try to wield it without surrendering themselves completely. Quirrell didn't lose. He disappeared, consumed by the power he believed he could command. In the end, he wasn't killed by Harry. He was destroyed by the remnants of his own arrogance. Dumbledore didn't hide the stone. He tested Harry's relationship with death. At first glance, the trials for the stone look like obstacles. Fluffy, plants, keys, potions, chess, childish riddles in a children's book. But they weren't challenges. They were filters. Each trap wasn't designed to stop evil. It was designed to identify intent. You can't steal the stone if you come seeking power. You can't survive the Mirror of Erised if you covet immortality. You can't pass Snape's potion test if you chase glory instead of wisdom. Dumbledore didn't hide the stone from Voldemort. He hid the stone inside a moral question: do you want eternity for yourself or peace for others. Harry passed because he didn't desire life beyond purpose. He didn't want power. He wanted truth. He looked into immortality and declined. He looked into desire and chose sacrifice. The stone was never about alchemy or endless years. It was about understanding death without worshipping escape. Dumbledore wasn't teaching Harry magic. He was teaching him how to confront mortality without fear, because someday Harry would need to walk into death willingly. Harry rejected becoming a Voldemort. The final confrontation wasn't about spells. Harry cast none. It wasn't about strength. Harry had little. It wasn't about prophecy. Harry didn't yet know one existed. It was about temptation. Quirrell asks Harry to stand aside, to choose self-preservation, to live and let someone else suffer. Voldemort promises to return power, reward. But the moment Harry refuses, chooses pain, chooses goodness over survival, the battle is already over. Magic does not exalt bravery because it is loud. It exalts sacrifice because it is so rare. Harry didn't win. He refused to lose the part of himself Voldemort had already surrendered, humanity. When he touches Quirrell and burns him, it is not light defeating dark. It is love rejecting domination. Harry's body becomes a weapon not because it is powerful, but because it is inhabited by a soul willing to suffer rather than harm. Where Voldemort sees life as currency, Harry sees it as a connection. Where Voldemort clings to existence through others, Harry survives by protecting others. Harry didn't triumph by force. He triumphed by refusing the sacred offer of power without compassion. The stone didn't save him. The prophecy didn't save him. Love didn't save him in that moment. The character saved him. He won because he would rather die himself than live at someone else's cost. And that is the one language dark magic has never understood and never will. The Philosopher's Stone wasn't a story about a boy learning magic. It was a story about a boy learning how not to become the man who killed his parents. Before he cast spells, he cast choices. Before he became the chosen one, he became the one who chose right when it cost him safety. Power shapes wizards, but refusal of power shapes heroes. If you just rewatched the movie in your mind and felt nostalgic, hit follow. We're not done yet.